Sorry. I guess this is part 2 of the Unit 8 video. The memory card got full and thing shut off on me in mid-sentence, which is probably a sign I was going on too long. And so we were just talking about the 1920s. I'll kind of try to quickly wrap this up. It came around to eugenics. I told you that Vermont was at the apex of its national aura and identity in the 1920s. And the national movement of eugenics was enormously popular across America. There's positive eugenics, which means that people back then believed that what you should do is try to encourage the right kinds of people to breed. And there's negative eugenics, which is that you want to stop the wrong kinds of people from breeding. And it's a national movement. California was the center of it. The Buck versus Bell a Supreme Court opinion in Virginia is in that era, and Vermont had its own eugenics movement, and it's a dark and nasty story. There was a guy at UVM whose name was Perkins, who was a zoology professor, who ran something called the Eugenics Survey, which took the ancestry and took notes about the enormous number of people across the state. And Vermont, in 1930, passed a sterilization law based on the information he had gathered. And it's something like 400 to 500 people were sterilized at the state's orders. People with Down syndrome, Abenakis, other undesirable people. And that's kind of where you're at in the 1920s. And so what you want to think about is, how do downhillers, considering the identity Vermont has acquired as this mythical, perfect, wonderful place, how do downhillers react to that? Do they sweep the problems under the rug? Do they try to resolve them? Do they actually act affirmatively to approximate that in a good and positive way? The question that comes down to is the discussion question. I really do want you to think about this. If downhillers are selling uphill life, does that make them more sympathetic to uphillers? Will they like uphillers more? Or is it more than ever will they show contempt towards uphillers because they don't approximate the ideal? Is the massive, not just rise of summer tourism, but by the 1920s, Vermont's identity as the home of old America, that's an uphill world that is the identity. But is that a good thing for uphillers? Are downhillers going to be more sympathetic to uphillers if they're selling the uphill way of life? And that's the question. Okay, end of part.